If you're moving to Davenport, Iowa, this is the perfect video for you because you want to be extremely careful on where you decide to move in Davenport. So what the heck am I talking about? Well, here's the thing. Davenport is a larger city when it comes to Iowa standards. And because of it being a larger city, there are a ton of neighborhoods everywhere you look. And each neighborhood offers different amenities, downfalls, and perks, and you really want to get that right. For example, if you're thinking, hey, I really want to be close to a grocery store, but just recently over in West Davenport, the West End Hy-Vee has decided to close. And if you were thinking that's where you want to be, and because that grocery store is there, well, you'd be disappointed because they don't have grocery shopping. And where I live, closer to McClellan Heights, it's kind of the same problem. We don't have a good area or place to go when it comes to grocery shopping, certainly not within walking distances. And that's just one example. Another example is, do you want to be near parks and outdoor areas? Well, if you want to be near parks and outdoor areas, you're probably not looking at maybe Northwest Davenport because the parks are a little bit lacking. Yes, they do have some up there, but it may not be ideally what you're looking for. And that's why you got to be extremely careful on where you're making your decision to move to, because you need to know where these amenities are that are important to you. And if you're thinking about moving here, you're in luck because I am a licensed realtor here in the Quad Cities, and I can help you distinguish which neighborhood is perfect for you and your family. So my number is popping up down below. I'd love to help you out and figure out which neighborhood is perfect. So give me a call, send me a text. I am the one that answers all those phone calls, emails, and text messages. So what is another thing you need to be extremely careful about when moving to Davenport, Iowa? Well, if you've done any kind of research, you know that Davenport, Iowa sits on the Mississippi River. And as a part of that, it has a lot of streams that empty into the Mississippi. And because of all the streams in the Mississippi itself, there is flooding. And why do you got to be careful about flooding in Davenport? You potentially do not want to buy a home that is in a flood zone. Now, are flood zones everywhere? Absolutely not. In fact, the majority of homes are not in flood zones, but sometimes they are, and insurance on a flood home is crazy expensive. So you're gonna wanna know if it is in a flood zone or not before making that move. And sometimes it's deceiving. Again, it's deceiving because of all the creeks that run through. Yes, obviously, if you're close to the Mississippi, there is a good chance that you're in a flood zone. But if you're just near one of these streams that seems pretty, calm and good, well, those are actually sometimes higher potential for flooding than the Mississippi because they can't take on as much water as the Mississippi. So making that move here, you just gotta be extremely careful of where you make that move because your home could be in a flood zone and you just probably don't want to have that. If you're moving to Davenport and you don't have your own vehicle, you're gonna be extremely careful because in Davenport, public transportation is a little bit lacking. I'm not gonna lie. Yes, we do have the bus systems. Yes, it's probably the best as far as the cities goes, as far as routes and the amount of buses, but we're still in Iowa. Iowa is not really known for having great public transportation, and Davenport is really no exception to that because it's just not something that we've needed to have that much until our cities have started to grow. But again, if you don't have a vehicle and you're moving here, you're gonna have to look at alternative options. Yes, the bus stations. Yes, we have Uber. Yes, we have Lyft, but it's not like it's super prevalent everywhere because most people just know that they're gonna be either driving or finding a ride from a friend or family member. So just know that moving here, that there's a potential that you're not gonna have great public transportation close by. And even if you do, it's probably not gonna get you everywhere you need to go. So keep that in mind when moving here, because I would hate for you to move here with expectation that you can get anywhere with the public transportation. Now, I find it interesting in the Quad Cities that we have a duality. And that duality is between Iowa and Illinois. And what specifically am I talking about? I'm talking about property taxes. A lot of people want to get out of Illinois because of the property taxes. There's a lot of great reasons to be in Illinois, but the main thing I hear from people moving from Illinois to Iowa is because of the property taxes. But the thing that I find interesting about that is that Iowa, if you look at national averages, doesn't rank that highly when it comes to property taxes. I think we're in the bottom 10 as far as property taxes go. And then when you look at Davenport City has a little bit on the higher side of property taxes, especially when you compare it to Bettendorf, which is the city right next door. And people find that surprising when they move here, if they're not coming from Illinois, that the property taxes are so high, because hey, where they're coming from, property taxes aren't super high typically, because you know, we are in the bottom 10 or so in the states for property taxes. So be ready for that. Be extremely careful, because that can also affect what you can and cannot afford as far as homes go. So keep that in mind when looking to move to Davenport, Iowa. One thing I hear constantly of people that have moved to Davenport, Iowa is there is nothing to do here. And I actually kind of disagree with them, because if you're looking for something to do in the Quad Cities and in Davenport, you usually can find it. If you don't want to find it, you usually don't have to find it. But here's the thing, our public events, our giant events, they still happen, and you want to be aware of when those events are happening, because wherever those are at, usually traffic and mobilization around those is very limited on what you can do. For example, one of our big events in Davenport is the Big 7, which is coming up here soon at the end of July. And there's estimated to be about 12,000 to 15,000 runners. That is a lot of runners. And then that doesn't even include the crowd that watches that. So when the Bigs happens, basically the downtown area shuts down because of all the people and influx of people coming to that event. And that's just one of the events. The St. Patrick's Parade is another one, the Festival of Trees. You just want to be aware of when those events are happening, so that you can avoid those areas if it's not something you want to partake in, because of the traffic issues that happen around those types of events. Now we are coming to the end of spring here in Davenport, Iowa. You can see some flowers up on this tree back here. And with springtime and flowers comes the pollen, and with the pollen comes the allergies that happen. If you're moving to Davenport, Iowa and you have bad allergies, either stay away or prepare yourself with antihistamine of some kind. I like Claritin, Benadryl, all of those ones. I love them all because I personally have difficult allergies. But my allergies are actually in the fall and not the spring. So if you see me in the fall, my eyes are almost swelled shut, just know that it's allergies. But what I find interesting is that my fiance, who's from the Philippines, moved to Davenport, Iowa, and she developed allergies when she was here. She absolutely cannot stand it. She, hates it so much that she's taken all of those medications and is never experienced allergies before. So it's a whole new experience for her. But if you already know you have allergies, you might want to pack up these medications and antihistamines, because it is very prevalent here in the spring and in the fall. Now here in Davenport, Iowa, you're gonna want to watch out for potholes. Yes, the potholes in Davenport seem to be running rampant. Now we are at the end of spring here, so they're starting to catch up with those potholes, but just know the beginning of spring, end of the winter, you're gonna see them everywhere, and it seems like they can never quite catch up. Their road construction doesn't seem to always catch up with trying to keep everything updated. You look at Bettendorf on the opposite side, they're constantly under construction, which has its own cons. But Davenport seems to be lagging behind on some of the upkeep when it comes to the maintenance of the roads, and it can be very damaging. I had an old roommate who was driving along Brady Street, hit a pothole, bent up his rim, destroyed the tire, and had to go buy a new one with really no recourse for him except for having to buy that new tire and wheel rim. So moving here, just know in that late winter and early spring, you're gonna be dealing with the potholes It's just a fact of life here in Davenport, Iowa. So get used to it. So you really want to be aware of the potholes in Davenport. And if you've watched this entire video and you're like, I still am making the move to Davenport, well, I would love to help you out, as I am a licensed realtor here in Davenport, Iowa. And my number is popping up down below. I am the one that answers all those phone calls, emails, and text messages. But if you're just curious about more pros and cons of Davenport, well, check out this video right here.